Hi guys! So I intended this reading to be a pick a card, but the readings are very long, and so they are meant to be soul sessions and they are meant to be digested, okay, like thoroughly and worked through in the subconsciousness. And so we already did this, so you might have seen this wonderful video. I personally absolutely can recommend watching that. It's about 2 hours and it's a really good soul session that brings us from a place to another, as we can see clearly here in this card, right? And it's all about leaving the harsh experiences behind and really being able to focus on a cleared future. And this is difficult, right? This has to do with forgiveness, of course. It's more about forgiving life, right? These experiences, and not refer to the past when we look into tomorrow. And yeah, Tomorrow, the song from Annie, that's super, like, yeah. And so this was all about liberty and freedom, right? And yeah, life is meaningful. So we already did that. And we will do this one later. But what I wanted to show you, actually, I feel this is really a journey. Like, here we are stepping into the new, and here we are actually floating again, right? Like, this is desert land. Here still it's the desert. Life wasn't fulfilling, right? And I already channeled a lot about what we are doing in a minute, and it has a lot to do with personal loss here and not trusting ourselves again also. So this is a very internal mirroring experience here, I guess. And it's about the abilities to float anew, right? To get our life's journey going again after whatever, right? And see what I mean here then with group 3, or session 3. I might really call you group 2 because as I intended it. And number 2 is relevant because of the mirroring and the feminine energies and the duality, which I already feel here. And I do have the window open, and we do have some morning trains. And that's great, I feel, for the releasing effect as a sound background. And yeah, see, and then when you float, then here it's about, okay, so now we are up again, like on the plateau of the mountain, right? And then we can, of course, see, now she can literally touch and pick the very stars where we are here hanging on. So I totally love this journey, and I would recommend to watch kind of all 3 sessions in a row, because it's, I feel, just what's needed collectively. And it is, of course, a collective message. So I am channeling some specifics and I mention them and you pick yours, okay? So for example, what I'm picking for today, and I shall tell you a little bit about my past also, about my first ex-husband, my first husband. So 417, yeah, literally clearing. And so we do have things like codependency and alcohol and substances maybe here, right? And also maybe, you wanted to do something for your life purpose, for your work, you had plans, but then you had children or other practical reasons why, you had to make money or whatever, you had a family, or a family broke and you had to, do whatever. Like, it's these kind of circumstances of life that had created a totally different route. Like with the hot air balloon, actually, I mean, you see it, right? Life takes you somewhere and you don't even know. You can't really very good direct that. And yeah, that's meant to be, like, that's part of your journey, I shall tell you, and that's fine, you know, even if 5 to 8, wonderful, solar plexus. So even if you have, and this is a strong chosen one group here, a strong 144, and, you know, volunteering to help Earth ascending. So whatever you were going through, it has a very, very distinct purpose for exactly that. So nothing wrong with having, you know, lost a home, a job, a family, whatever. It's a lot about personal loss and even loss of sense, maybe. You know how, for example, in my case, I had kids very early in life, and that, of course, redirected everything I was planning for myself, work-wise, right? And also, I kind of lost myself for a second in the mother role. And I was, you know, doing kids, basically, and that was my life. And of course, everything around it, you know, healthy cooking and everything. And so basically that was me studying life, like that was me studying holistic living. So it was my university, but it was at home, it was in my kitchen, it was on the playground, it was one-on-one with my kids. And then I also took other kids and took care of them, because that was then the way of, you know, working, basically, like earning money. And it just came, you know, to me. And then I even, you know, opened up a real kindergarten at one point with holistic standards. And so, like a private one, right? And so it kind of was all good. And also the relationship with my husband, and I shall tell you about that. I don't know why, but it's, for some reason, it's important, and so I have to obey there. So, you know, we both were basically recovering from narcissistic parents. So my mother and his father, so it's literally the elder energy, you know, same sex parent. And we mirrored that totally. But I was literally further on the line, and he was struggling with kind of borderline symptomatic. So sometimes he was, you know, good, and sometimes he was depressed, and totally to the point where without me he wouldn't do well, I guess. And which created another learning experience for me, right? And after the relationship, I literally studied holistic healing, because I felt, wow, the last 5 years I did, or 7 actually, I did, but 5 years marriage. So I did, you know, so much healing kind of in the family. That was kind of my job, like healing my husband and the family and society, basically, also. And yeah, that's why we are here, right? That's our job, basically. And we do that at wherever we are placed. And so this is about, don't question your path. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I couldn't learn anything of that, you know, studying theoretically. Not at all. So yeah, but I shall mention, like with my husband, his problem was when he was, and he was working at a cafe bar thing near our living place, which was just comfortable, because then we could spend days with our kids together. Like, we planned our life around the kids, right? And that was our divine purpose, basically, like our divine job, and we felt that. So, and when he would work in the evenings, then we had, you know, the days for going to the river, and we lived in Hamburg, and then we would always, you know, go to the river and go to even, yeah, with a bicycle to a lake or whatever, like, or in beautiful parks. I mean, Hamburg it's a town, but there's so much greenery. It's the most green town in Germany, and very beautiful. And so we literally lived in nature, though we were stationed in town. And also we were, it was a soul connection and a past life connection. And we both channeled a lot, like Ireland, 1600, and so we went, and we kind of changed our life because we felt it's not right here. So we were both like these star-seedy people who weren't feeling, you know, our surroundings. We were totally out of society, and we lived, you know, off-grid then later, and switched off electricity and all these things. And we literally started that in the center of the town, living without electricity and all that, like going totally against society. And yeah, and even, you know, my kindergarten, it was based on 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵, which is, he is a starseed and he has a strong connection to Lemuria. So we basically try to install, in a way, just inside, you know, Lemuria. But we were, of course, confronted with surroundings, right? And for my husband, the problem was when he was then, after work, the colleagues would sometimes pressure him, and that was really his main problem, lack of boundaries, like, and this is, I feel, the main thing in this group. So he wasn't able to really fully hold his boundaries and communicate them, because he didn't want to wound the other people, right? He was really loving and kind, but too much, right? Too much, to the point where he really literally couldn't say no to someone. And yeah, he grew up, of course, kind of being conditioned into that he would be, you know, the sunshine of the family, right? He was the younger son, and he was such a bright light, you know, and yeah, narcissistic father, as I said. And so his mother literally lived from his energy, I think. And also he experienced, of course, in life that's kind of an easy way out always. 1313 right now, to you know, also get what you want. So it was kind of a blessing which he couldn't wield, you know. It was a force, a power, the light we carry. He really couldn't fully carry his light and kind of use it for good. And so it was kind of taken from him. And I know a lot of people experience that, right? And literally that's then called codependency a lot, when just when we feel we have to give to a situation to make others happy, and though we ourselves don't want to, you know, like he didn't want to have a beer after work or something, but then because all the others wanted, then he was giving in and ended up, you know, being fully drunk and kind of disabled. And so kind of the demons throw a party, you know, with human puppets in a way. This is what happens in these situations when you really get a blackout. So, and I'm here to tell you, that's just, if you have experienced that, like substances, other people manipulating you, people forcing you into, you know, social activities, group activities, like peer pressure, all these things. I mean, that's very real, and it's very difficult to not do that. I know that, you know, from the observer perspective, it was so hard for him, and he was, you know, devastated, because he actually wanted to, you know, go with me to the lake, of course, with the kids. That was the whole purpose of this job. And he also didn't want to spend money, of course, you know, for partying. But yeah, it happened, you know, it happened. And then what happens afterwards, of course, when you come home from such a night, then you are in a very bad mood, because literally there was an energetic exchange, of course, happening. That's why they drew him in, because of his bright light, right? And so he would kind of fuel the evening, and in this exchange of energy, he would come home with all the bad dark energy and the demons of everyone, basically, because he was attacked the most. And then he would lay in bed and be very grumpy, right? And I had to kind of literally take the kids, like, and go out, so that they don't, you know, get that negative energy. And, you know, he wasn't anything like aggressive or whatever, just the mood, you know, it's just the mood. Like, it was like a dark cloud in the house then. And that's the cloud he brought home, you know, from the other people, just because of the energetic exchange. And so boundaries, it's a keyword for today's reading, right? Absolutely. And this was just a good example. And I didn't blame him, right? But we talked, of course, and we talked and we talked. And I hold my ground, of course, and I, you know, I claimed, you know, I mean, it was my home, and I of course didn't want to have this negative energy in my home, right? Where I wanted to play with my kids. And yeah, so that was really a thing. And that then led us to literally live off grid and on a sailing boat, actually. And yeah. And so we did that then, and that was super, you know. We lived for 1 year on the boat in the Baltic Sea, and he was to like little wooden boats, like carving them, and I did jewelry from copper and brass, and yeah, and also runes and stuff like that. So and we went to, that was kind of the main business, and we went to jewelry markets all over the place, like Copenhagen. And yeah, so it was, you know, a journey kind of that unfolded itself. But from his perspective, it wasn't that good, you know, because these little wooden boats he would do, and of course for our kids, it started, you know, it always starts with, what do you want to do for yourself? And, you know, it's great to have these really handcrafted, super wonderful toys. It's just great. And as I said, we had this past life link to 16th century, right? So it was totally natural for us to go that route. But then, of course, he found, well, but no one, you know, would pay me like 300 for this. But I spent, you know, kind of days even, and, you know, or at least hours and hours. But yeah, so basically I did well and he didn't, right? And so, and that's of course a problem, right? And he always had this, and with this narcissistic father, it was a real thing that he literally couldn't unfold his life purpose, or his, what he assumed was or should have been, or whatever, right? And the only thing he was interested in was basically good energy, like community. And it took him very long to understand, well, then maybe I should, you know, study social work. But then he was kind of above age, and they didn't took him. And so he had a lot of, you know, disappointments with this kind of you know, with his, in his bios as a man, you know, this masculine energy. And masculine energy, that's of course what we do. And I was very sad that he would give up, you know, carving the wooden toys, because we could have done a lot with that also. And it's just about marketing then, you know, you have to go to the correct markets where you have the clients. And so it was just there was a lack of energy then, because he was so frustrated. And I feel that's the main message here. So something which is really great, what you wanted to do earlier, whatever it is, you know. And I even started doing my copper work also, because it's just a great spiritual thing to do. Crafting, it's creating, right? And for me, of course, you know, with the runes and all that, I do, of course, you know, spiritual amulets and talismans and like items. So I'm restarting that also. But the main message is not so much about doing what you love to do, but it's really about doing what you have give up on. Like totally. Because my ex-husband, he comes through so strongly with all the frustration, which then, you know, leads to settling basically. So he settled in life, right? He settled. And the longer we were together, the more that drained his light. And I was constantly trying to push him, and you know, we talked a lot, always. And I mean, I was a great help, right? He liked that, so it wasn't negative, but but still, he was always, you know, losing his standards or losing, yeah. And it all came down to him not really healing from his trauma, you know, from his narcissistic father trauma, and this father wound of, you know, expectations we cannot met. And because of that, kind of feeling so low that we feel we cannot stand up for ourselves. And that's the thing here. It's all about standing up for ourselves, though we couldn't do that before, or though something else happened, right? Life circumstances, they are very often harsh and kind of bad and negative for the human, for the person you are, but that brings spiritual growth very often. It's like, you know, the strength is built, the whatever, right? So, and though, you know, my husband kind of is more a negative example, and I really had to divorce myself from him, because it was kind of super draining for me in the end. With, you know, we do have this energetic exchange, right, constantly. And I literally felt that my light, my very light, my soul light, was under attack. And for him, it was the same thing, you know, he was under attack. As I said, it's kind of demons then, you know, there in the nightlife. They have a lot of fun there. And jumping from person to person, and someone takes them home, right? And so, yeah, I kind of had to, you know, what he was lacking, the lack of boundaries, I had to grow that, like, for, yeah, I don't know, for the world, I guess. Like, I grew very strong boundaries through that experience, and that fortified me, really. So, and I knew, of course, you know, divorcing a family, that's harsh for, you know, the kids and their light also. And but I was absolutely very strongly feeling that, see, I'm drawn to this small light and the big light. And it was it was really, you know, when the dark cloud is too oppressive in a way, you have to free yourself from that. I mean, what can we do? You know, we can leave if we live in darkness, right? There are three options basically. So you can turn on your own light, which I did like all the time, right? And shine light where I was. You also can, I mean, of course you can just sit in the dark. And that's what my ex-husband did too much, I guess, you know, just let it happen, let it kind of overrun him. Oh, it's, yeah, and that's apathy, right? When you let others rule over you then, and you have no say at all anymore. And you also can, you know, go to where the light is. And in the end, that was all I could do. You know, I had to remove myself from the situation to switch on my light again. And then actually I created this private kindergarten and all that. And yeah, and it was, you know, good. And I also, you know, cared for him. And we kind of divorced in peace and shared the responsibility for the kids. And it went very well for 3 years. And then kind of hell broke loose anyway. But it at first, you know, we kind of really, I mean, it was my doing mostly. But I mean, I really cared for him, right? But yeah, in the end, when he really finally understood that I'm not coming back, then hell broke loose, right? So because he really was in a way dependent or addicted or whatever to my energy also. And so he then developed let's say then kind of the darkness came out. And I don't know, it's just about the light, you know, it's just about the light, the energy. And so I don't know why I had to tell you all that, but it is very, very important to have kind of an example, I feel. And so the main message here is that you can trust yourself to kind of rekindle your own light, I feel. You can. You can. And you know, my decision back then to leave something, maybe you have to leave something, or maybe you left something, right, behind. And it takes a while but first we get this, I feel, boost of energy when we have freed ourselves. But then we have to again protect that. And that's okay, so that also might be a thing. That's a harsh experience after breakup, when you then become kind of enemies, right? And you, that's not how it should be, you know. Like, I feel the main energy in this group is really unconditional love and Christ consciousness. And we also have one single card for you already, which is literally, very Venusian, like very Venusian, Christ consciousness, and holding space for that. So yeah, even if, in darkness, that's a thing. So I have to read something to you, but let me first explain. So these are actually liquids, you know, it's aura holistic medicine, kind of. It's essences you can put on your body to enhance specific, to help you basically evolving, growing, learning, whatever, right? And this is a channeled system, and it's called Aura Soma. And so there are links to tarot cards and to Ascended Masters and to the I Ching, and and the tarot card that's linked, it's the Four of Swords. So it's literally rest. rest after the truth, was breaking open, and also rest before battle. So it's literally, and it's deep meditation and contemplation and really going inward with that. So yeah, but I want to read the Ascended Master that comes with that, because that's, on point for this group, on point. Like, this explains who you are on a soul level and why, why. So it's 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵, and he's known in Western scriptures as the Ancient of Days. And what I explained you with Lemuria and we going backwards in time, that's all that, right? And feeling it's not right how it is here, nothing is how it should be, the haste in society and all the kind of stress and pressure and it's all not right, not at all. And in the Ancient of Days, society would just be together, what I created then in the kindergarten, like this super peaceful, just being together, just being. And in Hindu scripture, he is known as Kartikeya, and in Buddhism as Brahma Sanam Kumara. He is the great guru of the seed of Christ throughout cosmos, hierarch of Venus, and one of the 7 holy Kumaras, lords of flame, who represent the 7 rays on Venus. And he initiates us on the path of intense love. And yeah, intense love was a thing, basically, also in that marriage, very intense. The ruby ray, which he sets forth in his book, The Opening of the 7th Seal. And this is a thing, this is a Jesus teaching also, Yeshua, and with a ruby ray. So this is really a thing which will help you. But let me first read. So he has held the hierarchical position of the Lord of the World since the darkest hours of Earth history. So here is something with the darkest hours, the darkness coming in, the demons taking over, the day after the party where you literally, with the 4 of Swords also, you literally have to rest and digest everything, and and it's what is that even? It's literally the forced energetic exchange. You've been harvested, basically, and then in exchange you get darkness in your system. That's the harsh truth. So, and these societal norms that force you to constantly, laugh and smile and ha 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 and be ha ha ha, what alcohol does in a group, and you throw your energy out, like with this, happiness, you throw it out there, but without a purpose, understand, without a purpose. And that was my main problem with my ex-husband. He was constantly leaking energy, and of course that was missing at home, and I had to do a double shift every day, basically, with creating our home and everything, and yeah, mending, where the leaks were then, and planning differently and all that, because he couldn't hold that. And yeah, so I had to be kind of more in the masculine energy then, and I mean, there is no problem with when we both are, kind of 50-50 masculine and feminine living together. And sometimes, the man is in the feminine energy and the woman in the masculine. That's actually These days we do want to be in equality and equilibrium a lot more than earlier, where it really was like, you know, totally poles and positions in life like separated. So these days we try to bring that into balance. This is part of the essential process also, to get that in balance. And not saying, you know, I'm not speaking about this toxic feminism, what we have, where it's like, yeah, I can be, you know, harsh and stressful and whatever, you know, being in toxic, distorted masculinity, which most women are basically thrown into the world. But that's not what I'm speaking about. It's just, you know, you can, for example, I created all this jewelry that's healthy, divine masculine energy, right? That's divine creation. So that's, and that's a right, you know, feminines. It's kind of, yeah, that's how it's meant to be, right? And also, you know, having a kindergarten and having your own bank account and having your own name written under your art and stuff like that. So in earlier days, it was literally like the woman was property of the man, right? So, and all her work, it was like he was taking credit of, even in science and whatnot. So this is, of course, you know, so we are really, it's a lot about darkness here, right? And there are, of course, situations, even these days, where, you know, let me just say woman again, but must not be, like, it's not gender specific, but it's easier in that case, where women really do not have access to the money of the family, right? And they are, like, only there for the kids. And it's these shared, so they are showing me, like, when you share the balloon here, right, like one does this half and the other does that half, that creates crazy dependency and you can't move alone. Ooh, phone call. So that was my son. He's pretty grown up and he forgot something and asked if I could bring it, but I was like, life for sure has another solution. So it's basically his lunch money. And so yeah, no, he there must be, you know, life will find a way. He can borrow, I guess. But so what is this? You know, everything what happens in a reading has a purpose to be there. So I feel it's about not feeling responsible for other people, because that was, of course, on me back then, you know, what I learned in that relationship, to not, as I said, I was kind of doing double shifts, like my life and the life of my husband. And that's not what we are supposed to do, because they have to go through their own learning experience and growing, and, you know, so you have to let them hang every now and then and solve their own problems. Like, I mean, basically, not every now and then, but, you know, it is a beautiful thing to support each other, but codependency, that's something else. And it's a gray area, I guess, when this starts. So it's about being helpful and supportive. That's one thing. But for other people to rely on that, that's when it gets toxic. Can you see that? Like, you must never think that, okay, I have an example. So someone has no car and a friend has a car, like a big one, and someone wants to buy furniture, right? And so they expect the friend of theirs to drive them to get the furniture, because they have the car, right? And I have, and yeah, I mean, you can ask, and if it's convenient and they maybe also want to look there for themselves, yeah, then you could do that. But to kind of expect that and rely on that and think that's the only way it could happen, otherwise I'm helpless, that's when it starts to get toxic. So we always have to kind of think if we can solve the problem differently. For example, order the furniture and then pay for the delivery. That's the normal, right? Because it's a freaking service. And then, yeah, then it costs something. Okay. But otherwise, it would cost the energy of the friend, right? And so that's where social, you know, the sticking together thing, enmeshment can get very toxic, actually. And we've also have kind of an overly expanded need for socializing, especially in, I don't want to say like lower class, so, but with, you know, when we do have like little resources, then people tend to be more socially invested, actually. It's just a thing that's happening. And because we might need something from our neighbors, right? And the more you are kind of self-reliant in a way that you interact with life, and again, life journey is unfolded, and that's again, you know, how, you know, literally women are made dependent when they are cut off their own masculine energy and their own, you know, whatever it is. Also, of course, the supportive environment, so which, you know, abusive people do, they cut you off of your support system. So here's a lot of darkness coming through. And so the goal is to trust in yourself, to trust in your own ability, and to find solutions where you literally stand on your own, right? You stand. It's like you are rooted in yourself. And yes, you can build all that. And so when you need something, it's like, and this is a childhood wound. When we feel we need someone else to give it to us, be it love, be it resources, be it whatever it is, right? And I get it, it's nice if someone cooks a meal for you, of course. But technically you can cook a meal for yourself, and even a wonderful meal, right? A wonderful, you could pamper yourself. You could create for yourself this beautiful, beautiful dinner table. And of course, you also can go to a restaurant and, you know, book the best table. And of course, also your best friend or your lover could do that and cook for you. And that's, you know, a great kind of love language, of course, you know, to do things for other people. And so this is literally the love language of the Pentacles sword, right, where it's about giving, and this is also, you know, spending time for someone else. And yeah, and so sometimes it's great even to sit with the lack of furniture, right? And I met a guy once. He was coming out of a very, very dark time. Oh, goodness, this is so much here in this reading, right? The dark times. And I haven't even finished what I wanted to read to you because of the dark times. It's like the darkest of the darkness, right? And he was there. Like, he was also financially, it was a mess. and he was doing insurance, and he was kind of held captive in this kind of snowball system, and he was losing, and it ended with him hiding in his parents' house, like with no name, where no one can find him and no one can, hunt him down anymore. And then he managed it somehow to get his strength back. However he did that, like, I'm very proud of him. Very, very good. And then he went into real estate. And when I met him, he was a friend of mine moved into a house where he himself lived in the other half. Like, he lived upstairs and she had an apartment in the basement, what he would rent, and he wasn't the owner of the house yet, but I bet today he is. So he was, back then he was already like doing very, very well, and I was in his apartment then also, and we made friends kind of, and he was living there with just this one piece of furniture. He had moved in, and so he was also helping downstairs with renovating the apartment. That's how we met, actually, with this building, rebuilding, renovating. That's a thing. Moving in, right? New home, new life. You see the home here, yes. So this is the thing. And I haven't even read the text. A long way home. Oh my goodness, yes, a long way home. Ooh, it's a long way home for all who are tuned in here. Like, I feel like I have to kind of brush your hair and, caress your shoulder and give you a hug, like literally parenting, like, and so we have to reparent ourselves, I feel, a little bit here in this reading. It's very much about reparenting and getting up again, getting afloat again. That's the thing. And yeah, and in his apartment, he had this couch, a blue couch, and it was literally like he had dreamt of this blue couch for years, like his favorite color, and he wanted that. And yeah, and then next thing was, then he ordered a curtain, and it was like, yeah, nice. It was like golden yellow, and he really ordered that, and it was expensive, right? And he had nothing else. And I love that attitude, just what you really want. Yeah, you can, save your money and get that. And he also had, a little apartment where his company was established, and he had lived like in the back room for a few years, like just in the little, very, very little space, kind of the storage room, right, of his company. But he had literally rebuilt himself. And then in his new home, he wasn't like, okay, now I have to decorate it immediately and it must look perfect. No, he was totally in alignment with where he was at, and he was enjoying, buying this one piece and then that piece, and yeah, and I added a lot of decoration, like, because I had so many, vases and things, and yeah, I was also moving these days, so yeah, it was a big, everyone was moving thing. Yeah. And gathering themselves back up. Yeah, also my friend, she also was coming out of a divorce with 6 kids, actually. Can you imagine that? And then doing that. So very, very good. Ooh, she also was with a narcissist. Ooh, wow. Yeah. She, by the way, she was the first one I met who actually lived with a narcissist, and she described it so funny. She had very wavy hair, curly actually, and literally like a witch, like red curly hair, very beautiful and very, vibrant. her whole energy. That's why, you know, she was chosen, because of her energy. And it's always like that, you know, if kind of the dark side is attacking you, or if all these toxic, abusive people kind of come to you, it's not because you do anything wrong, it's just because you exude that light. And you can see that here, how wonderful, beautiful, like your essence is, right? It's so clear and pure, and just everyone wants that. Everyone wants that, right? And to keep that clear, you have to create strong boundaries. Absolutely. So, and she described it. She said when she was out with her husband, and she always felt like curated dog. And you know these dogs with all the curls? I don't know the name. But she said that, like, she felt like, you know, put on that pedestal, and it's like, but show at the leash, you know, and showing her off, like, see, that's my wife, see, that's, you know, see, that's mine, my number one dog here. And yeah. And by the way, she also does holistic medicine. Wow. So this group is very much a light worker, healer thing here. Yeah. And now let's look what we are actually doing. Yeah, release. We release darkness. Absolutely. And I have a technique for you, which I will go to in a minute, but let me first finish the 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵, right? We were stuck in darkness here. So, since the darkest hours, right? He has held the hierarchical position of the Lord of the world since the darkest hours of Earth's history, when her evolutions fell to the level of cavemen and lost contact with the God flame and the mighty I Am presence. When the Earth, and see the caveman thing, that's not where we come from, 444 right now, by the way, but that's literally apocalyptic scenario. Could happen at any time, by the way, again, right? Yeah. So just imagine infrastructure is destroyed, and then what? And then you gather what you can find and find a cave, right? Yeah. So, but here we have I Am presence. Okay, when the earth was at the point of being dissolved, because there was no one who was keeping the flame of the Christ consciousness alive, 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵 came to earth, a voluntary exile from his planet Venus, to keep the flame until sufficient numbers among mankind would respond and begin once again to maintain the focus on behalf of their brothers and sisters. 144,000 souls volunteered to assist 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵 in his mission and accompany him with legions of angels. So that's you. Exiled gods and goddesses here, exiled angels, right? So literally, you might be an ascended master yourself. You might be an angel or an earth angel, I said, yeah, but archangel. You might, you know, whatever. In the higher realms, like, you are someone, right? Someone. And you might have a very strong connection to Venus. But it's all just about, you know, the Christ consciousness. And yeah. What I wanted to read again was this sentence here, because there was no one who was keeping the flame. And I feel this goes very well with your energy. Like, there was no one but me, like only you, kind of, you know. This is why you shine your light in these dark moments when you feel, but there is no light, and so I have to do that. That was kind of also, you know, my motivation with my ex-husband when he was kind of falling in darkness. It was kind of natural for me to assist, but actually that was then a therapy session, which where needs to be an energetic exchange, right? We can't just, and of course we can because we are connected to our source, and that's why we have this cup that's constantly fueled, and so we can take all the light, you know, and draw the energy down here. But still, it's the thing, if you fuel a broken vessel, and I hate to say that because it's, you know, my ex-husband, but he was a broken vessel. And as long as I was fueling in there, he couldn't heal, right? And these 3 years after we separated, they were great for him because, you know, I supported him as a friend still, but we literally thought, like, what can he do? And so he went, for example, to a choir, so to sing for his, you know, growth, and once a week, and these kind of things. And we could have done that before together, I guess, but in the togetherness, you know, you are in togetherness, and then you don't think about these things so much, especially with little kids. But it's so important for people, and this is the calling here also, to do that, because I feel a lot of suppressed creative energy. I feel a lot of kind of misled creative energy in the way that it kind of pours just into darkness. It pours into healing, but it's not healing when we do that without boundaries, you know? Because we have to understand, when we pour something into someone for their health, it's necessary that they give something back. And I had a lot of these situations with friends, right? Having, you know, studied holistic healing, of course, I can give advice for free for friends, like all the time, of course. And I did that. And I had ridiculous situations where I literally told a friend, like, exactly this, that, and that. And she was like, I'm not sure. Then she went to a listed practitioner with exactly my profession, right? Exactly. And this, she told her exactly the same, this, that, and that. It was something for her nutrition and stuff, and life shifting, health shifting thing. And it was exactly the same. And she paid her. And then she was like, oh yeah, you know, I have now I have, you know, now I have. And I was like, what? And what was, you know, last week when you had same answers for free, but then she hadn't, because she hadn't bought them. Can you see that? She hadn't invested, bam, in her healing. And that's the very thing. People need to invest in their own growth and healing. And this is why we literally have, like, why you have, and this helps if you have one of these crazy vows where we have to break free from, where it's like, if you are a spiritual person, you are not allowed to have money or to earn money or whatever, you know, you have to pour in your energy for free. That's just all these toxic circles where where energy is harvested, basically, and someone takes from your energy, you know, where you have to pour it in. And it's totally based on harsh survival experiences, again, in the older days, somewhere, you know. Also, when you went in a convent, you know, you had to maybe cut your hair and neglect your femininity and just be a nun, you know, without being a woman anymore now, and without being, you know, empowered and shining. So you have to literally cut, and hair, that's such a powerful tool, right? Hair is our antennas, it's our connection. So literally, it's, again, it's another way again of harvesting energy, to put those nuns in these cells, and then they have to do and pray and garden and whatever, but not pour into themselves. And if you have a past life like that, that's a wound that needs to heal, needs to be released. So we are speaking about a lot of past life wounds here. We are speaking about deep, deep, deep darkness, and we haven't even tarot, right? So, wow. But yeah, I mean, the first session also was 2 hours long, so make yourself comfortable. We are just starting, okay? We are just getting started. And we want to rise high here above all that. But so this is kind of, we are creating context around what it might be, what might resonate, right? And you feel that, you feel that, of course. And also with all these narcissistic, dark, deep things, and how women were literally kept like slaves, you know, in kind of an ownership situation, that's an experience which is in the collective consciousness. It's just deep in there. It's embedded. I feel it right now, speaking about it. Ooh. And it comes again, it's survival. It's survival. So, there is a saying, oh wait, how goes it? If you are dependent, if you are dependent on the money of someone else, you are a servant. If you are dependent on the mood of someone else, you are a slave. Slave. Wow. So you are enslaved then. And that's what's happening in a relationship, what we call an abusive relationship, right? Where it's with emotional and mental abuse, right? These kind of relationships where, you have to kind of, you know, where you are the food basically for the other person then, or people, family, whole family system maybe, and everyone takes from you, and you are there, you know, you are the codependent one. And we just say it like, oh, codependent. Well, actually, that's survival. And actually, also, I hate it when people say, oh yeah, that's people pleasing, because that's survival. We are social beings. And I mean, I do have a very narcissistic mother, as I said, right? There was a lot of mental and emotional abuse in my first 17 years, so I kind of started life with that. But I also had my father, who is a starseed from Sirius, and he backed me up, and I had spirit, you know, I was completely connected to my spiritual guides, and I literally had them all around me. So I was navigating that consciously, and I wasn't pushed in this dark pit. Though, of course, you know, I also suffered. But, yeah, I didn't kind of lost myself, I want to say. I didn't. And on the contrary, I was constantly fighting. And so this is, you know, why I could help also my ex-husband, because he kind of couldn't. But I mean, I wasn't trained, right? I was 19, so I had no idea how I was helping him and what would have been best or whatever. But yeah, so in hindsight, I understand. Well, we should just put him to therapy, right? To work through his issues, because that's not what a partner is meant to do. You know, you're not the 24/7 therapist for someone. And if you feel you are the 24/7 therapist for someone, then it is by nature also an abusive relationship, though you might do that, you know, on your own will. But yeah, because you are not getting your needs met because you're constantly on duty. And that's the thing, of course, with Earth Angels, because we just are, right? We kind of feel that, like, that's why we are here, basically. Like, hello, I'm here. I want to help, right? But We have to heal from these immature timelines and timelines where spiritual support wasn't respected or whatever. And yeah, as I said, you know, you have to kind of create a container for what you do and create a workshop or, you know, a technique, and then say, okay, 30 minutes, it's that amount of money. And then the person who wants your energy can actually get it, you know, and heal. And I did that perfectly after I divorced myself, right? So yeah, I did a ton of workshops then, and I was then constantly evolving. And so this kind of and then this is how, you know, spiritual purposes are naturally built through your struggles, right? And now I actually want to do the technique. Ooh, funny idea. Okay, so I wanted to get a piece of paper, but I haven't. But I have actually some toilet paper, and that's even greater for the purpose. And what do we have? A raccoon, isn't that good? And some clouds. Okay, so after a relationship, okay, this is about closure. This is a technique from my very workshops, okay? Though we didn't use toilet paper, but it's very good because it's all about how to get the SHIT out of your freaking system, okay? So you have a piece of paper, and please take one out right now or after the reading, but I would recommend to pause the reading after I told you and then do it immediately, okay? Because I guess that's important. So on your half, you write what you did. Let's say I did not communicate my standards because I assumed we were operating on the same moral codex. And that's a big one for starseeds, because we come in with a very high moral codex and we assume everyone has that. And then we learn, oh wow, no, humans are kind of strange. Like they kind of do not operate on that value system anymore. What's wrong here? And then we constantly think like, what's wrong with them? Because we don't even think that it's our standards are something special or whatever, right? We think that's normal. That's the baseline. But that's your baseline, right? That's your standards. That's your values. That's basically, as I often say, the cup where your water is in. This piece of clay, it's like materialized, whatever, and we don't see it because it's invisible, our value system, but it's very much there. And that's the very thing that holds your water together, your source, right? And that's how you should operate with that also. Like, this is your boundaries, your values. It's like, okay, I give if I'm respected, for example, you know. I mean, for example, the friend I told you of, you know, with where I gave her advice and then she totally mistreated me and got her advice from someone else and even paid the other someone. Of course, I never gave her advice again, right? Of course not, because she didn't value that and she didn't respected me, and I withdrew because I felt disrespected. And so sometimes, you know, there are people and people, you know, sometimes give kind of in advance trust. That's how I actually like to operate. Like I tend to show up very open, and I do that on purpose because I can hold the disappointment. I literally have a huge, huge space for disappointment, but I do that like coming open in a situation because I really want to see who the other people are. Like, who are you? Show me your values. Okay. And then of course, you know, it's a problem then because I haven't, you know, communicated my boundaries. And then of course, you know, we get mistreated. And people, you know, they didn't saw your worth, they mistreated you, they mishandled you, they didn't show you respect, they took you for granted. All the things people complain about, that comes just because we haven't communicated. Like, this is my boundary, it's a wall, it's a solid freaking wall. And as I said, you can do that as a strategy to be open and allow people to show who they truly are. And I think it's a great strategy, but you have to be able to take in the disappointment then, because people will show you their lowest standards, obviously. So, but what we unfortunately do as humans is we make a causal connection here. And so we think, because I did this or that, they did this or that. Because, you know, I didn't made my boundaries clear. Like, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my... No. They chose to show up with their values, or low standards, or no values, or however they showed up, like mistreating you, right? And so you have to cut yourself free from that. And I feel that's the main thing in this group. Like, whatever they did, and they, that's everyone. Like, that's your parents, that's your ex-partners, that's your, you know, your bosses and your enemies and your frenemies and your so-called friends, right? And you have to release the freaking burden that it's your fault in any way. It's not. It's not. Of course, you know, we can show up having like a super high wall up and being super vigilant, like hyper vigilant and protective, and not allowing anyone to hurt us. But that would also mean to shut life out. And yes, of course, we wouldn't get wounded, but that's actually what people do after extreme mistreatment, and then they kind of sometimes never can open up to love again. I also don't want that for yourself. So that's the downside of, okay, I'm responsible, so I have to control. And this is actually controlling. If we have so, you know, if we control how we are treated, that's not even a good outcome. But that's where it's, you know, breaking down to. And by the way, my son just wrote, so problem solved. Someone borrowed him money. And see, that's that. He called me because he didn't even dare to ask someone. So I wanted to mention that before, when I mentioned the car and the furniture buying and all that, because, you know, I was helping a lot of people moving houses. And because I can, you know, and I like it. But when I needed to move, I didn't really know who to ask, because my friends were more like expecting me being the strong person. And so, and you know, my son also, he didn't, you know, he didn't even wanted to ask. And I was like, well, give life the chance to surprise you. It will work out. It's, I mean, it's not a large sum of money, you know, some money to buy a little bit of food. So should be possible that there is someone who's able to support you with that. And now he comes home with this great, you know, wonderful experience that, yes, indeed, society is working. And indeed, you know, and this is actually a situation where we need support, right? But if someone, for example, comes every day without lunch money, then it's a problem. And then, of course, something is wrong in the home, right? And then we have to maybe dig deeper. But yeah. And we have to find solutions and build places and whatever, free lunch. And yeah. But what I wanted to say is that if we take all responsibility for how other people behave towards us, that's super toxic. And that's what's what's told, like what's taught even, right? Like, you have to take the responsibility for your life. Yes, for our life, but not for theirs. They are freaking responsible for their behavior, and they will get their karma for that, obviously. So how they treat you, that creates their karma. How you treat them, that creates your karma. And it's not so much about just the deed, but it's the emotion you cause in other people. Like, you know, how they feel after the exchange. And but let me go back to, I don't want to go into karma here. So this is absolutely not where we're going. But rather it's about, you know, the freedom. The freedom here is important of, wow, actually, you know, it's totally, it's really not your thing at all, right? Let's kind of divorce you from that. That's the thing. Like, we have to divorce ourselves here in this session from the mindset of, I'm responsible for what has happened to me. No, you're not. No, you're not. Of course, you know, there are some behaviors that would foster positive outcomes, and some behaviors that rather would, you know, lead you downhill, right? Down. But you are not responsible for the BS of other people, totally not. And it was their choice, right? It was their choice how they treated you. And you know, when I show up like totally open to people, I very, very, very soon see who they truly are. And of course, it's very often very disappointing at the very beginning, because I very, very soon see, okay, that's a very conditional approach here, right? And they just interact with me because of this, that, or that. And so, but then I know. And then I can kind of hold my energy back. But in the very beginning, I'm like, okay, who are you? Like, tell me, show me, who are you? And I think that's important, because I want to be open for, you know, life to surprise me with goodness, right? Goodness. And I guess that's the message, right? Totally. So, and what you have to do, literally, you have to write what you did in the relationship and where you are blaming yourself for, right? Maybe you blame yourself for, ooh, I didn't communicate my boundaries, right? And so maybe you were involved with someone, maybe physical, if it's a romantic relationship, you maybe were physically involved too early. If it's a friendship, you maybe would overgive and overshare and constantly borrow your car, or lend them money, or help them, or just be on the telephone for hours because they want to tell their problems, and it's always about their problems, right? That's not having boundaries, right? You are not a free therapy session. I feel I do have here, you know, this classical divine feminine earth angel light worker being in this group, or, you know, everyone who was drawn to this reading, where it's really about, no, you cannot hold the whole world together, though you can. Like, at some point you can, right? But not like, you're not meant to be, you know, at the outskirts and mend and knit everything and tend to every problem everyone has. That's not your thing, because it's about you coming home to yourself, right? The long way home, that's you coming home to yourself. And divine feminine energies tend to, you know, completely understand that we are all one, and we are completely fueling everything around us, like nurturing, giving. And yeah, my example is always like my table here, like this I created and I put my love here, right? My energy, but this gives back to me. It reflects back my energy and it supports me. And it all, find its place on the table through a spiritually connected moment in a way. So it's nothing is just so, right? It has all find its way here. And in the spiritual world, it works like that everything is, if everything is free and fueled, I want to say, like if there is the light in it, right? If it's living and breathing, yes, then that's how it would naturally be. And people would also naturally, float back to you, and the energy would just be healthy. But it's all about the leaks other people have and the darkness other people carry around. So you must not, protect yourself from the other people, but from their demons and from their lack of boundaries, from their unhealed wounds, from their unsolved problems, right? And of course, you can initiate problem solving and healing, but then they have to do, and they have to invest in that. They have to put in effort, time, and repetition. And with my ex-husband, it was literally like I was fueling him, like day after day after day. I was fueling him. Literally, I was, yeah. And so he wouldn't even, have all the consequences of his lack of boundaries, right? Because, yeah, when he was drained, he could come to me. It would be very, very healthier if I would have put up a front back then, after a while, and have said like, no, if you can't hold your ground, then you have to, stay overnight at a friend's, or I'm not home then, or, we, I don't know, live separately. But yeah, literally it goes back to living separately, because if you share a space, you share energy. That's it, right? And here on earth, we share energy with everything here. And yeah, here's a lot of darkness, right? And so we are constantly drained anyway, because the surroundings are way darker than you are. I mean, see how light and pure you are. And so now I want to separate that. Okay, so that's on them. And that's on you. And now we want to ask Tarot, what is that about? So, what's your thing, what you have to forgive yourself? Yeah, okay. You are just the Earth Angel. Ooh. Okay. I have to think about that. Okay, I mean, that's pretty clear and pretty much what I said, right? You kind of can blame you, if you want to blame you for something, that you kind of naturally, constantly are alchemizing energy, what I was kind of explaining all the time, right? So you are a natural alchemist, and you are transmuting energy constantly, because you are an Earth Angel, and that's basically why you are here. And so that's great, right? But now we are learning something else to get your purpose afloat, and to, it's about coming home. And coming home, that's literally, we want to anchor you in your glory, I'm hearing. Wow. Like, what are you here for? Like, your specific purpose. So this was kind of training terrain, right? Just giving to everyone, and giving to the situations. And of course, you know, you did a lot. I mean, hello, you for sure transmute, but you must see that, you must be aware of that wherever you stand and go, you are transmuting energy. So watch your surroundings. And even with the home moving, and what I just said with the energy is mirrored back, and in a shared space, you know, every energy is shared. I am constantly reminded to declutter my home. That's very important. And also I want to say, when we just have moved, we are not sitting in our own energy, but in the energy of the person who lived there before us. And we transmute that also. Like, you cleanse the room, you cleanse the memories of the room. And you do that everywhere. So every room you enter, you cleanse the room. Every person you encounter, even briefly on the road, you encounter. So you have to step away from all enmeshments, social enmeshments, totally. You have to totally retreat in your own energy, in your own cup. It flew here, right? You have to retreat in your higher realm here and completely bathe in your own energy. That's what you are called to do. Leave the other cups and go for the Two of Cups, which is someone, situations, people, whatever, meeting you at your level, right? Your standards, your values, your moral codex. And I do have a playlist about that. And as well as, you know, this playlist here about the forgiveness. And so what you have to forgive yourself is that you have encountered situations where your morals and standards were not met, right? But actually that's not a big deal. That's life, that's normal. And from my perspective, it's totally not understandable why people are, you know, completely stuck in that mindset, like, oh, it's my fault. No, it's not. It's their freaking fault. I mean, they did what they did, and you have not. What was that? Oh, they acted like, oh, I don't have. That's literally my ex-husband's energy. Like, da 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 da. I go wherever, and someone will catch me. And you know, I was catching him. So I was kind of manifesting for him the next safe space. So you are perhaps kind of that person who manifests safe spaces for people. So, but you are called to think it through. Okay? This is contemplation before you act. And really, really think. Go inward. Do not look what is presented to you. Like, if someone is like, oh, you know, and I mean, this is not the true esoteric meaning of the Fool's card, but just for now, we need it like that. So someone who's like, oh, you know, I have, you know, overspent in partying and drugs, and now I can't pay my rent. And maybe that's your child even, right? And then I'm like, oh, mama, right? Mama, help me. And you're like thinking it through, what would be the best decision? What values and standards do I want to stand for? And do I want to install? And, you know, and teaching and preaching, well, nice, but we have to be that, right? We have to be that. We have to interact like that. And so with kids especially, the power word is no, right? It's just no. I mean, the phone call we had, it was my kid asking me, can you kind of save my ass, right? And it was a ridiculous thing, but I think it's classical and it's classy codependency where we feel responsible because it's family, it's close friends and kids. That's extremely a vulnerable space for feminine energy, because there we feel the pressure of, but we are the nurturer, we are responsible. No, you're not responsible. You're freaking responsible to teach a value system of, well, it's about growing up. And if you haven't looked ahead in your day, then now you have the consequence. You know, you wouldn't starve anyway until evening, so you now have to carry the consequence. And then next time you think for yourself and you can better prepare your day, I guess. And you know, my kid is 17 years old, so, and he isn't so much like that, but still we are a little bit training right now for complete independence. So it's funny actually that came through in his life, you know. And so he never forgets money, but yeah, first time, and now he knows, right? So, and I mean, happens, right? Happens. And of course, you know, there is a time where we just show that, where we prepare everything, you know, we prepare lunch, we prepare the money, we prepare everything, and we show that how that goes. Like in the evening, we prepare our day, and it's laying right there, you know, on the table and prepared. So he just forgot in a second. And what? And what? What I feel the most important is holding space for the gap, you know? Of course, first instinct of a mother is, oh my God, my kid has nothing to eat. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I have to, you know, I have to jump, leave my work, jump out of the house, run there to the school, give it, right? Bring it. But then, well, they never learn, right? They never learn. Consequences, like life's real consequences, that's the best method of the divine to really like hammer something in our awareness. And for healing, friction is needed. Friction is a very, very necessary part of healing. And you know, I studied that, so I know. Friction is important. Sometimes, yeah, it's about support and nurturing, but friction is needed when we need to cut something out. And that's the thing here, you know, we have to cut something out. For example, childish behavior in the sense of wounded inner child, acting from a wound, maybe acting out whatever it might be, right? Abuse of anything, you know, partying, whatever we had, like we had a lot. And so it's about reparenting. If this is an adult person, they need to reparent themselves, and they need to want that, right? They need to want that. And to want that, we need to be at the point where we are totally frustrated. And especially with substances, there is a saying, it only works if you say, no, I'm not showing up for you. No, I'm not saving you. You know, I'm not paying your rent. If you kind of on repeat do that behavior, which is, you know, harming you, and also you are fine with harming me, because with that very money I could do wonderful things, like have a wellness weekend or 3 or holiday or whatever. But no, I have to, you know, show up for you and save you. No, you haven't. And if it's about us, you know, a part of ourselves, like a part of, you know, unhealed, wounded inner child, then yeah, this reading is about, yes, you have the strength and you can reparent yourself. You know, if it's our own, like where we lack, where we were falling into darkness, where we couldn't show up for ourselves, where we couldn't maybe finish a study or a profession or follow through with something we wanted because there was too much darkness around us. That's also a thing. If we can't, then yeah, we can't, right? It's just accept that, like, you hadn't enough energy then because maybe, you know, your home wasn't supportive. I mean, we have an upside down home here, right? It's kind of, there is an upside down home and it's anchored, but then you build a castle upon it. It's kind of a very interesting imagery. So yeah, it's very much about uprooting everything you learned, right? And release that, like your programming, your home programming, which might be like give. Like, and you might even have heard sentence like, oh, you're a taker, which is guilt tripping. Because if you think, oh, I'm a taker, oh, I don't want to be a taker, I don't want to be a taker, so I must be a giver, I must be a giver, I must nurture, I must nurture, I must nurture. That's how this is created. Someone manipulating you and telling you, oh, you're selfish. And that's so like disgusting. You're so disgustingly selfish. That's no, right? And actually for you, yes, you should be selfish in the best way, right? Just within self here. Self, truth, self. Anchored in your true self, right? In your higher self. Go there. And leave behind everyone who is showing up with, oh, you have to give to me because you have more energy. I literally yesterday wrote a subliminal for this very case, because I feel I need something like that, where it's about, yes, you are allowed to have more. Yes, you are allowed to shine. Yes, you are allowed to be seen. Yes, you are allowed to have more. And you're safe with that. And it's not that everyone just, you know, comes for you then and takes from you. Literally, it's about you are allowed to grow your own energy. You're even allowed to have a better car, a better home, see? A better life, a better home, a greater purpose. Why not? Because if that's yours, then that's yours. And if they are not content with that, and that if they want to have you like same size in that role, then that's not your people. You know, you might have heard that before. Only someone who wants to see you grow and who is really, truly happy for you, like really, truly happy for you growing, and not because it then feeds in the we, right? Okay, see, if we do have two here, and we do have shared energy, and then, yeah, as long as you share your energy, you can, of course, grow, because then it, like, everyone profits, right? In a group, everyone profits from your energy. It's about that profit. Hear that, profit, right? Ooh, and you're a prophet. But yeah, so, and they want to keep you, of course, they want to be with you, but people must be also loving you just being you, and you shining, and you doing you, and you having fun, and enjoying your money, your profession, your skills, your, you know, gifts, your whatever it is. It's like honoring someone's beauty and not wanting to claim it, right? It's not, yeah, it's like, let the flower grow there and not, you know, take it. Yeah. There might also be a sexual thing here with you being afraid to, you know, shine and blossom to the fullest because you're afraid of being, you know, kind of pursued in a negative way, like taken. But yeah, I mean, just step away. from anything. And allow that gap to be there, right? If people showed you they are lacking, yeah, then exactly in that gap, see, there are the steps. Exactly because that's lacking, you step away. So my friend, where I gave the advice and she didn't honor that at all, I stepped away from that. Other friends where I was doing all the moving home stuff and they wouldn't help me if I needed an extra hand, I stepped away from that. And, right? So, endless list, of course. Yeah. And yeah, my ex-husband, he, you know, finally stepped away from the whole town, from the whole environment. And we went on the sailing boat to just, you know, that was our kind of private therapy session, to go off grid. And he's doing that, right? Yeah. And this is an internal journey, by the way. So it's just about you aligning with your own core values. And yeah, it's soul searching also. And yeah, there is a link also to past lives. With number 8, it's always about infinite kind of things. So there might be just, you know, when crazy things happen in your life and you have to step away from that, that can always be just a past life that needed to be released. 1717 I just saw. So that's very simple. You know, we heal our past lives through exactly trigger situations in another timeline, lifetime, this life, right? Where you are in right now. And then you have a crazy experience and then you finalize it. And for example, my ex-husband, that was, yeah, it was a soulmate, and yeah, it was a past life connection, but there was a lot of karmic stuff in it. And I had to, you know, step away from a lot of patterns there. I had to. And it really went like in stages. And at one point it was like, okay, now I can't stay. That's the point. That's the point where I have to step away. And I bet maybe in the other lifetime back then, 1600 in Ireland, I wouldn't, you know, maybe I couldn't. Maybe I just couldn't, because we just, you know, were living in this little cottage and I had maybe 18 kids or whatever. So, and then I couldn't walk away. But this lifetime, and I thought especially about the kids, and I thought, no, I have to be the good example. Like, it's more important they have a whole mother as a symbol, as a figure, like my wholeness. That was what I was, you know. Yeah, fighting for, basically. And yeah, that's what you need to fight for too. And that's where you have to, you know, contemplate situations and yeah, step away. So I will get some more cards for what you need to step away, but that's already telling a lot, right? And also all these cups. And you know what's funny? I'm not drinking naturally. Like, I mean, I drink tea and water and even coffee, but alcohol, not really, right? Not really. Maybe every few months, maybe at a special something, but yeah. And but for this group, all of a sudden I felt like we have, you know, a present with whiskey chocolate. And I just thought it's a good idea to just eat that as breakfast. Like, so I'm sitting here literally with a tea and whiskey chocolate. And so I think it's so funny that so much with alcohol comes out. And I mean, that's my breakfast right now. And my kid, you know, first day ever, goes out without his money. It's like this unpreparedness, like, oh, breakfast, okay, like this would be a classy breakfast, I guess, after partying. Like, what's there to eat? Like, I'm hungry, like, yum yum yum. And yeah, so, but you know, for the afternoon we have already planned a wonderful salad with like a lot of super ingredients, and that's actually also how you could shift, for example, eating habits. If it's about that, just prepare. It's all about the preparedness. And if it's about a relationship, also prepare how you would date. Like, when would you like to be physical with a person? Like, would you like actually to have, you know, sex with a stranger? Like, first date, is that healthy? And even, you know, how it's kind of in America, how it's promoted from society, like third date, there has to happen something. I think that's absolutely toxic. And so people I dated, literally I knew them from work or from hobby months before I even would consider dating, because I need to know the values, the very values. I need to know where they come from. I need to see how they treat other people. I need to see, you know, other people. That's important, because of course, as I said, if someone wants you, they want your energy, so they treat you nice. But see how they treat other people. For example, if you are out in a restaurant, see how they treat, you know, the servants, kind of. The people where they think, you're below me, I'm over you, right? And also, if they are just sitting there enjoying that they are seen with you as a trophy, as I said with my friend, right, where she felt like, oh, I'm on a pedestal. And yeah, you know, that's complimenting, yes, but it's not really connecting, right? So you should always, you know, look for the real connectedness and kind of block access, I feel, to your, see, this is your source here, your emotions, like this is your source. You should block that totally. It's not for free. Like, step away from every method where people would, and release the shame and guilt about that, right? That's the main thing. Like, it's not your freaking fault, not at all, but we are releasing that. Because now we step away, right? We step away. And so I know there are these days some books out, like I guess 8 Dates is a book where it's like, oh yeah, so now we have 8 dates and on every date we talk about something. And I guess it's a good book. I haven't read it, but for me that wouldn't be enough at all. Like, totally not. I need really to know who I'm dealing with. And that's why I even come into a situation like fully open. And this might look, you know, naive, but it's not. But for you here, and see, I picked these 2 hearts for the reading also, for the whole forgiveness thing, and it's literally about our growth, right? So first thing is, you have to be aware, I feel, that this vast land here, this is a treasure. Your emotions, your connectedness, it's a treasure. And you do something for people, like naturally you do, constantly you do something for people, naturally, right? Naturally you do that. And that's what you shouldn't, actually. You should kind of keep that. For when you think, yes, now I'm giving you a Reiki session. You can pay me for that. Now I'm, you know, having a coaching session. You can pay me for that. But not just constantly pouring out energy just because someone has a wound. No, that's not who you are meant to be. I have to tell you that. And so you have to step away, as I said, from the wound and the unpreparedness. So it's kind of prepare yourself. So I don't know what I do want to have some more context. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah. So, okay, prepare yourself with this constellation and me just mentioning, you know, your life purpose, and see, like, this could be Reiki, this could be a massage, this could be a coaching. Like, think about these containers. That's, I guess, the thing here. Think about a container where you could put your energetic work. And, you know, this is not like I sell this item. But of course, you could pour your energy in a spiritual item, which also, you know, is a work I personally do, and then create that and sell that. Every creative work is like that. If it's music created, or if it's, you know, a painting, or if it's something crafted, or even you decorating houses or whatever, homes, like the interior, that's all, you know, you work with the energy. But you should take a frame around you, totally. That's coming through very clearly. And now they are drawing me to this deck. Okay, ooh, that's a lot, guys. Guidance through power of prayer. Okay, so you will get guidance here. That's very nice, from your higher self. They are there, right there. They want to create with you. So that's actually cool that we have that. What you are here to create, it will come through in meditation. And where's our card, by the way? Our 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵. There you go. Okay. And this wants to be here somehow. Okay. So yeah, because this is like literally multiplying, right? Okay. And it's, I feel like they are here, like they have you. They are with you. Okay. They are so with you, so very with you. It's this Venusian energy I'm feeling again. It's so beautiful. Wow. Okay. And they help you create that. Okay. Okay, what's that? Nourish body, mind, and soul. No, spirit. Okay, nourish body, mind, and spirit. Yes. And remember, this is also the Four of Swords, right? This is contemplating. So it's very much internal energy. But what you shall do actively is literally pray. This is like actively call in your higher selves, your guides, okay? Call that in. And this is, of course, nourish body, mind, and spirit. This could very well be a meditation. Like, find a spiritual practice where you constantly can connect. This is for me also a card of mental connection, you know, to the divine. Gain understanding of nature's magic. Makes sense. So this is the first clear guidance here. Nature's magic. So holistic medicine again. You know, herbalist. But also the elements, cycles, the moon. Peace and tranquility with trees and forests. Wow, okay, so there we go. Nature. These two came out together. Okay, so forests are literally guardians, and they do have spirits. not only a tree, but also a forest. It's like territorial. Yeah, this is nice, because you should understand yourself more as a territorial thing than as, you know, just a person. You are like a territory. You are, you know, you are a place even. Wow. Because your energy is big, you know, your aura and all that. Time for rest and timely preparation. Yes, yes, yes. Explore the wisdom of dolphins. How nice is that, with all the water? And this is about speech, goes very well with the prayer. This is about equality. This is, you know, friendship. Totally. This support. Dolphins are so supportive. And yeah, I love that. I love that. Goes very well with the Two of Cups we are looking for, right? But it's in the higher realms. Let your inner voice be heard. Yes, here's your inner voice. There, you tune into your inner voice, because thoughts, it's about voice. And this is internal energy. This is you thinking it through. What do I even feel? And then you shall pray, right? Pray. Speak it out. Cast. Oh, study crystal energy and wisdom. Crystals is also earth energy. Okay, very cool. So crystals, trees, dolphins, and overall nature magic. That's your go-to. So you have a clear guidance. That's your job, like your mission. Wow. Wow, very cool. Like, that's the next steps, you know, whatever you do with that, and you can combine that all and just work with that for yourself, because that's how we uncover our mission, is while we are healing ourselves and find out what works for us, right? Like, anchor yourself with the crystal, because we have the anchor. And also breathing techniques, I feel very much, because we have this with your inner voice, and we have this air balloon here. There's a lot of air, right? So breath work is always about drawing spirit in. This thing here, nurturing, right? Nurturing body, mind, and spirit, like nourish that. Breath work is very good for that. And it helps you release what really does not belong here, right? Yeah. And a raccoon, by the way, lives in the forest, and we do have also trees here. So they wanted to be here for a reason. I love that. Okay. And so we have to kind of reroute your inner child, which now we are in the positive meaning here, where source is, you know, everything is there. It's like, of course, right? It's all still there. No matter, you know, if you've struggled 80 years on earth already and you feel you are worked up, no, you are still whole inside. Inside there is still everything perfectly whole and available. Like, it's always available with the 0 point, and with the anchor here and release and a long way home, right? No matter where you are, and maybe you feel like in terms of earth, like, ooh, you know, I went the wrong path, or I did this, or I was delusional, or I was taken, you know. No. It was all meant to be, because it prepared you perfectly, like internally. It was your internal preparation. Okay, what's that? See, there we do have the wounds, and they want to be released. Inner child wounds, as I was suspecting all the time. So you are releasing your inner child wounds here, and really releasing. And that means not only, oh yeah, I have a wound, I need to tend to that, oh yeah, I'm hurting, and they did that, and they did that, and they did that. No, we separate ourselves now, and we say, okay, we understood. Of course, you know, our needs weren't met. We were not seen. We were abandoned. We are really nothing good to see here, right? Absolutely. And this is also this freaking what I mentioned, the spiritual wound of you are not allowed to earn money through your business. Yes, you freaking are. A spiritual business, that's what we need these days. Like, and if you think, well, there are so many people doing Reiki already, well, but we need so much more Reiki these days, right? it wasn't a thing 30 years ago, maybe. I mean, yes, it was, but these days it's like, that's like a grocery store. I mean, spiritual services, it will become as essential for Earth like a grocery store, literally. And there are so many, you know, healers needed here, and you are one of them, totally. Like, you are one of them. And you must not, you know, open up a classy practitioner thing. And I, for example, never wanted to do that. So I immediately started doing workshops instead of practicing. And because I kind of wanted to teach and work with groups and develop my own kind of strategies of, you know, I had kind of a theme, or someone came to me with a theme, you know, and then I would create that. And that's actually how I learned how to create these containers. So I tell you, like, think about your core gifts, you know, and what you want to do and how that can be used. And then just create a flyer just for yourself first, and really sit there. And I mean, this is a very fast forward method right now, so I have way way deeper methods for that, but just play around with that, I want to say, and pin your flyer at the wall. And maybe not a flyer for like all products, but maybe just, you know, create one piece of paper. That's important for you, to have it on paper, as well as remember, you know, what you want to separate from. And you can even separate from, you know, your own, like maybe addictions or whatever, wrong behavior, where it was coming from a wound. And yes, that's fine. That's fine. We have that state where we live from the wound. That's totally valid and normal. But then we walk away from that and we re-adult ourselves, right? We reparent ourselves, we adult, and we grow up finally. This inner child needs to be, you know, taken, right? It's not meant to sit there in the room crying forever. You can, you know, also take, if you have a specific event in your childhood where, you know, well, that was a traumatic period, you know, this and that happened. And maybe, you know, family broke up, or I got hurt, or whatever it was. And then take a picture of your child from these days and pin it at your wall, and then have it there, and send love in there. And talk to that child, or do a meditation with your inner child and talk to them. So, and to bring up again the example of my son, he had a harsh experience in primary school with, you know, people not supporting him, and him being left out in the cold a lot. That's why he struggled asking someone, right? And why he rather would prefer me coming. But yeah, you know, I allowed him to experience that life has changed. And he had to really, it was a thing for him. That's why he called me, you know, to open up, to even ask, like dare to ask and expect a good outcome. That's difficult if we have experienced that. I mean, you see that, right? The Fool, it's also, you know, coming back to innocence. Like what I said, be fully open and expect just the best from everyone. If you have been through severe trauma, that's of course not happening, right? Because then you are in the PTSD state where you are literally frozen, as we see it also here, frozen from the trauma. And yeah, but allow life to shift. And this session is about the shift. And I felt it, by the way, after I did the first, where it was about shifting the focus away from the pain and actually into, freedom kind of thing. And so this is similar but different, right? So now we are kind of more in the nitty-gritty, painful, emotional area here. It's very, ooh, suppressing and I mean, it's real lack, right? It's real pain. Was a gap there. There was really something missing. What you really needed, right? I mean, you really needed that, and it was unfair. Totally, you can see that it was totally unfair. And to release an experience like that, it's not easy, right? But you are absolutely anchored here in your higher self. And you come, from these highest energies. See how much light here is in, right? And it's all wow, it's so beautiful, right? So much light. And see your lit also here all around. It's so nice. The stars are kind of surrounding you, I feel. And the angels, of course. And yeah. And they are just with you, It's like you're the bridge, like you receive from a whole collective, just like, 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵, he belongs to Venus, right? So he is kind of channeling Venus, the whole energy of Venus, holding space during the whole period of darkness, right? And so, yeah, you could do that, like holding the light in the darkest times. You could, that very light, like Sirius starseed light, you could hold that. I mentioned my father, right? He is something like that also. Yeah. And my father, he went through a very harsh upbringing where they were beaten up a lot, like the children, like constantly. And still he remained an openness for, specifically with nature. So he literally healed himself with nature and studied biology also. And yeah, so nature is really a thing, absolutely. Because nature is nurturing, right? It's the natural, it's your mother here on earth. It's the connection to mother energy. And with the cycles also, yeah, we have to accept that, right? We do have winter, and just look out, right? Earth, what's she doing in spring? Is she like, oh, I don't dare to stretch forward again because winter was that harsh? No, she's like, now it's spring, like, let's blossom again. And see, this is the energy I feel like. Now let's take a deep breath. See how he's like, now let's open up again. Now it's summer. See, it's all lit here. Now let's create anew. And I know it's so difficult if, we are speaking about a lost career, a lost relationship, maybe children going the wrong way or whatever. I know people experience very, very severe pain from that. If you lost, the connection to your children, and then they fall kind of into darkness through different things or are misled or whatever. But yeah, still you can build something from these experiences. You can. And money is involved. Absolutely. Money is involved here. And so literally create like a service or whatever. Like, okay, now you can clean a room when you're in. So create just, okay, And I do that, by the way, also. So this is an example I can speak of. Like, okay, so you do like house exorcism, right? House clearing, spiritual house clearing. Or you do, you know, Feng Shui guidance there. Or you work with aromatherapy or whatever, right? And so you create a service or a set of services around the home. And then just hang that at the wall. And let that hang there and influence you. This is like a mood board also, a wish board, like a manifestation board. And just let that work with your subconsciousness, like interact, okay? And then hang it at the wall where you can see it every day, or at a whiteboard or whatever, you know, pin. And everything else, you know, you can think of what you could do, like everything. It's not about like, I have to find this one thing. No, write down everything you can think of and then hang it there. And at some point you would feel drawn to maybe explore a little bit more of one of these. And then you would kind of take one of these, and then it's like a folder on the PC, right? Where then you put content in. And you would maybe think, okay, how would I do that? Like, what would be the steps? Like first meeting with the client and speaking it through. And first meeting would be maybe if you would, you know, do these Feng Shui house things, it would maybe be best at their place, and then it would be for free, I guess, as, you know, first contact thing, and like an offer. And then you could, you know, plan it through, and then you would think, okay, so what would I, you know, how would I work through that, and what steps? And just think of it like you offer that, and people can choose what to pick and what to then buy, you know. And we give away so much, you know, free advice in our friend circle that we don't even understand the pricing of that, you know. So it's very much about finding pricing here, success. Allow yourself to be successful. Allow yourself to be rich even. And do not be afraid, because you would handle money, I guess, well, right? And so we have kind of this nurturer thing, and maybe even this limited belief about people who are handling money are always mishandling that. I guess not. That's not true. That's not true. There are people who can handle money. It requires being humbled, but I guess you've been. So you for sure, you can handle money, right? Totally. Just like this guy I told you about, right? This friend of mine, where he was in insurance and totally lost, totally broke. And then he rebuilt, and he was a good person, like generous and good. And also he could hold space for the gap. Yeah. He even helped me with my car back then, like money-wise, lending money for a new car. So yeah, maybe someone even supports you with that. Maybe you need a new car for a job or something, and then yeah, let's manifest that for you. So whatever you need, it will be there, right? Trust in that, because it's the divine that brings it. And I needed that back then, my car, like desperately for my workshop. So yeah, and my car broke, and so he helped me getting a new one, basically. That was cool. Now I'm drawn to ooh, that's a lot, but I like it. That's really a lot. Are they all for us? Making a choice. Yes, I feel I want to lay them all out. Making a choice. Mountain. There you go. There's the white light, and the mountain, you know. I feel called to mention the book The Mountain Is You, which is overcoming our own, inner problems, insecurities, our own ego. Dragon's lair, oh, that makes so much sense. So we are hiding because we do not expect anything good from the world again. And this is literally the accumulated pain here you have, right? The accumulated, and shine a light on that. And make a conscious choice to choose the other door, which leads, into coming to life. Here, coming to life. Okay. And in the moonlight, I like that because we have that here. So the moon is helping. I mentioned the moon even. Okay. And goblins and the storm fields, yes. That's what needs to be released. Okay. So, divine feminine here. And your purpose is coming to life. Okay. And the goblins, that's what is created in these wounds. So I do want to put that here because obviously you see it, right? That's that. Yeah. You make a choice to come to life again, right? To rebuild here yourself. And it's all about your divine, your beautiful divine feminine essence. And it's like a miracle here unfolding. And you do have total support from nature. Fairy support. Very good mother support, I want to say. And the raccoon. Yeah. So raccoon energy, that's kind of a party animal. But it's literally like, as I said, I'm sitting here having whiskey chocolate for breakfast, right? That's raccoon energy. But I'm having fun with that, and I'm making fun of it. Yeah. And the storm, the storm can be positive and negative. It's just we are cleansing, and you are about to rise high here, I feel. So the goblins, that's literally, they are living here in the darkness, in the fears, which created the dragon's lair. And the storm fields, that's what will whoosh, boost you. And so that you then come to life, right? But also it's about overcoming the fear, and there are different ways to deal with storms in life, We can throw an anchor, for example, to stabilize us, which we see here. And then because we are stable, we then, can go with the storm, but not too fast. We can also, go faster than the storm, like ride the storm. And we can, of course, also, totally wind down and unplug. I mean, I don't know the wording for that, but it's kind of unplug the world. And this is more the negative choice, I feel here, like not moving at all anymore. That goes with the dragon's lair, where it's literally about we are hiding. We are in hiding. We hide because of the storms of life. We are not trusting, basically, because we have experienced so much pain, and I understand that. But you are called to walk through that door into coming to life again. And with the full support here, you have learned so much in the darkness. I mean, moonlight, the moon, right? The moon is your wisdom, actually. And it's this constant knowledge. We had it here also with, yeah, there is a lack. You know, the light is sometimes there and sometimes it's not there. And that's your strength. Your strength is that you can go through these phases, that you can handle that, and that you understand that. And so you can even guide other people through these phases because you have experienced that yourself, right? Can you see how beautiful that is? And that's why you even had to experience so much lack, for lack of a better word, because it's something else for everyone. And I am drawn to take this. Okay. Okay, yes. It's sweet. You are the sunshine and the flowers of my life, and I don't mind the rain. So this is a channeled message deck, actually typically for love messages, but I felt called to take it. And so there might be a partner involved here, but you know, a new relationship coming to life, because I shall take that out. But it's absolutely about you becoming the sunshine, right? And the flowers, like you blossoming, you coming to life again. And yeah, we don't mind the rain, we don't mind the storm, because we understand, yeah, that's necessary. So this is your wisdom, because the rain lets the flowers grow, and the flowers are literally your wisdom. It's the flowers are the flyer, right? The flyer, which is your containers, where you can, where then, you know, everyone is drawn to, because you have the nectar in that, right? You have produced that. Which one? Okay, this. Okay. I do want to. This might literally be about a person and a soul connection, a deep soul connection. Now we do have Two of Cups here, right here. I do want to be with you forever, jumping through all fairy tales, playing all characters. See what that's about? As I said, with my ex-husband, we had this strong knowing that, yeah, we lived in Ireland, 16th century, and in this cottage, and I could see it, I could smell it, and we kind of shifted our whole interior in the house into a 16th century thing. So yeah, and but you choose, you know, what character you play. Your softness cures my anxiety. How is it even possible to be so kind as you are? See, that's your kind of what you bring to the table. I like that we have that, because that helps you understand how other people perceive you and how you can, you know, this is that energy, that wonderful energy. And so this is literally what you, and this is what's taken for free on earth these days, right? But this is what you shall monetize. I want to say that word again, monetize. Like a monetized softness. Because yes, softness cures anxiety. Ha! So you can cure people's anxiety. The moonlight, it's fear, right? You can cure that because you can hold space for the gaps when the light isn't there. And you can help people come back to life, right? Overcome their fears again, goblins, fears. Overcome their shortcomings. Like even addictions and all that, right? You can work with that, totally. I mentioned that so often. So, yeah. That's amazing. Now they want me to take out the Hawkins frequencies. So we will see what comes out. If it's something what we release, that they want. Serenity, yes. serenity over despair. Yes, you move into serenity and absolutely out of despair. And we do have absolutely guilt in reverse, which I love, because guilt tripping was a thing, right? It's not your fault. Whatever happened, it's not your fault. That's also just a form of how we are attacked. With distractions, storms of life. Yeah, stay optimistic here. You can handle the storm. You can rise. We started the reading with that very energy, right? Like, you can. After whatever you've, trust. So this is our thing here. Trust. Oh yeah, humiliation. I felt that. You've been humiliated a lot. Abstraction. So you have to abstract what I just said. That's how we are attacked. That's how we are literally attacked, how your light is attacked, because you're meant for greatness, for success. I mentioned that a lot, like success is here, and it's about you allowing yourself to shine bright, you allowing yourself to be seen, and you not fearing that something is happening. For example, you being shamed and told that you are greedy or bad or God is oneness, by the way. Yes, you come from that realm. And yeah, fear, right there. The dragon slayer. Ooh. So you are called to abstract that. That's the mental clarity here. White light, right? Put some white, clear, cleansed, just pure energy. Put it on there. We had the thinking, right? That's exactly what you have to do. And trust that it's coming to life. You are coming to life. Everything is good. Like, absolutely. Absolutely. So, trust. Trust, babe. I want to say. Don't know why. But trust. Trust that all is one and all is good. God is good. All is good. The light. But yeah, there is some darkness. Yeah, and they try to attack and hack and create wounds, wherever they can. Wherever they can, they put their claws in and kind of tear apart what you have, to then have you focused on constantly repair mode. That's the thing here. Like with my ex-husband, right, he was constantly kind of attacked after work, and then I had to constantly repair the disaster. And a lot of people live that with their children. I know that. I know a lot of, And this just comes because society isn't a good example for growing up, adulting, right? And there's a lot with we have to show up perfectly and have it all, even if, of course we cannot have it all. Because first, we need to create a little bit and give something, and then the world will reflect. But kids grow up these days and think they have to have everything, and we do have shame and humiliation. And so it's like, and even school and not having lunch money and all these things. So well, that's obviously not your fault, right? Obviously not. And that was just, a scheme. Yeah, maybe, of the devil to get you in despair, but also it's kind of a university trip, right? It's kind of, if you see Earth as a school, and if you see what you've been through in the first half of your life, or however long it is, or childhood, or whatever period we are speaking about, right? A marriage, a school, period, or whatever it is for everyone. So this is your training ground, right? Your training ground. And this is strong to have, been able to overcome that. And I speak in past tense, so yeah, so you have been able to overcome that. Wow. And now you are stepping into serenity. And you see the full picture here, right? That's why these readings are meant to unfold that long. And it's so important. And now we shall take manifestation. This is my deck, by the way. It's clear-cut guidance on how to manifest and what to do. And I have some ideas, but let's see. Oh, yeah, see, your dream life is right there, your castle again. And yeah, see, this is the ground where once a huge factory was standing from my ancestors, but communism ruined it and stole it. So there was, you know, a lot of despair and guilt and shame and humiliation. And they literally did that thing. You know, it's like Eastern Germany, where they were blaming everyone who has money. And I spoke about that, right? Like, you're the bad guys. And so they took my grandfather, and he had to work in, how's it called, where you break stones to build, like super simple work. Like, see, that's work. Like this kind of energy, like very, very, very humiliating on purpose, while they took his factory, which was a family built super thing, very nice family, all very fine, very, very good people, nothing evil there, everything fine, like very good people, very well educated, very loving, very kind. I'm super happy to have incarnated in that family, and I work of course on overcoming this kind of, you know, guilt tripping of because you have more you're bad. No, that's not the case. Like, that's a crazy thought even. You know, my family, they were building school furniture, by the way, furniture again. And so it started with my grandfather, being a painter, and he was he should just paint the boards for class, you know, for the school. And he was thinking about, wow, that's not so good for the kids, that the color, the surface scratches so easily, and then they can't read well. And then he experimented at home, you know, and he also could have thought like an employee, like, okay, so I have a stable income here, right? Every year in the holidays, I paint the boards there, and that's my money, and that's good. And a lot of people would have done that, but not he. He thought about, oh, well, we do have a problem here. So let me invent something. Let me think about that. Let me think, how can I solve the problem? And that's how we should think all. How can we solve the problem? Not how can we make money off the problem? How can we, you know, profit on a problem? No. How can we solve the problem? And then we can also, of course, profit, right? We have profit, but that's good profit. Profit from problem solving, that's not exploitation. Profit from creating problems and then exploit that, that's exploitation, okay? And so he invented actually the surface of boards you all know, like the kind of solid with stone in paint and yeah. And then he did that, and of course then they built boards, and then they sold them all over Germany, and then in Europe, and then abroad, and of course factory grew, and of course all friends started working, you know, and it built up over 3 generations, and then communism came, right? And they survived the wars because they were all, you know, constantly supporting each other, and it was good. And in winter, what I wanted to tell, when it was very cold, and the school in the town where the factory, in this town here, where the factory was, the school wasn't, it was very cold there. And so my grandfather then, he would take in like the whole school, like every little kid and the whole school for the winter. They could sit in the factory and learn, have their lessons in the factory, with like the new furniture, right? So totally a thing which I guess someone who is just out there for profit would not do, right? Not at all. But yeah, they did that. And then it was all taken from them. And then they were put like on pranger, like, oh, you're to blame, you're to shame. You're responsible that our land isn't growing, that we are sitting in a desert here. No, actually they are not. They are the least people responsible for that. And I feel if someone has blamed you ever, like that's your message. You're the least to be blamed and shamed here. You're the least. But it's just, you know, the easy way to blame someone. And mostly we blame the ones who shine the most, who have the most energy, right? And see, while I was there taking my memory picture of the ground, where once there was a building, a big one, and yeah, a big heritage actually. And I was looking, you know, see, it's still green. I felt that, it's still green. And then the light came in, and it's actually 2 rays coming in there. And I felt that's like my grandparents saying hi. It was like clear turquoise, 2 rays of light just shining directly on the ground. And then also we do have the 2 firs here. And I loved that moment so much. I felt so connected and so wonderful. And I never told that story before here in a reading. So yeah, this is super relevant. And of course, you know, this is super 5 of Pentacles because it's not there anymore. See, it's not there. It's taken. It's stolen, actually. Stolen money. So it's a stolen heritage here, right? Which causes this despair. But then it comes with guilt tripping, like you don't deserve that anyway, right? And I know a friend also where his own father kind of stole his heritage from his grandmother. And there are a lot of things going on like that in families. I know that. So let me read that for you. It's called The Lost Empire. And yeah. And it goes, you know, with all the darkest times of history and all that. So it goes very well with what we read about 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵, the darkest hours, right? So, the empires of your ancestors may be destroyed, but the glory lives forever within your DNA. Your soul holds the blueprint for wisdom and wealth. And we want to put it right on the moon card, because wisdom and wealth, yes, my dear, that's moon energy. We manifest with the moon. The moon is the silver light that draws it all in. Yes. Wisdom and wealth, yes, comes both here. And here's your dream castle. I love it. It's still there. Ooh, 1 for 4. I just saw 1 for 4. So that's your castle literally in heaven, your heavenly castle. That one, it's already built. It's already built. This timeline already exists. Oh, and I just saw my birthday code, which means yes, this is really personal here for everyone. It's really yes. Your castle already exists. This timeline is real. It is there. It is available. You can tune in there, right? And it says, dream life. Your dreams aren't random. They are showing you exactly what is possible for you. No, not possible. Real in a parallel timeline. Yeah. So, and can you remember, please, what we have here? A parallel timeline. A parallel timeline. You are meant to shift into your dream reality, coming to life. Your dream life coming to life, right? Wow. Wow. And of course, you know, the other door, that's a pretty dark one. So you need a lot of abstraction and optimism and trust here. And I hope that reading helped to create that. That's the purpose. And yeah. And see, it's literally, yes. It's this deep commitment of all is one. And yes, of course, we also go, you know, through these timelines. These, just like 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵 did, you know, okay, so it's dark on earth, so I volunteer to come. It's like I go exile. I'm the, you know, you're the exiled queen or king. You are that. You have a castle somewhere, and you are here just on exile. It's that mission, okay? Yeah, trust. And we had a lot of hints here for like monetizing your dreams here. So, and money, that's just energy. It's like unconditional life energy. And ooh, I have to mention 𝓢𝓸𝓾𝓵 right now. So cool. I have to mention pocket money also, because pocket money is a thing a lot of people don't have. And my kid literally forgot his pocket money, right? Ooh. And that enables us. I mean, disables us actually. And this disables us and holds us captive, right? And in this, yeah, so it's not good, because what is actually pocket money for a kid, it's unconditional. It's meant for the kid to buy what you want, buy what you think is fit for you, but just whatever. I trust you. Right? Of course, I also teach you a little bit, but I trust you to, even if you are buying chocolate, okay, then that's what you need, right? And chocolate is, by the way, it's very Venusian. So yeah, cacao, and even all the nice, beautiful cakes and all that, that's very Venusian energy. And of course, we can overdo that, I know that, but this is not what this reading is about, because this reading is about you have been shamed and humiliated and taken and guilt-tripped a lot to not want anything, to be content with nothing basically, and then still giving to anybody else, but not to yourself. And now we are calling that out, right? And we are separating you from that timeline, and we are shifting you into the new, and this is what you have to forgive, basically. But it's, here are so many layers what we can forgive, right? That we are too afraid maybe, or we were too afraid maybe for a long time to think positive again. And that's understandable. We saw that. And that we maybe acted from a wound. And that's understandable, because the wounds are pretty deep. I can tell you that. It's deep here. And the goblins take over sometimes, right? Goblins, that's us acting from fear. And these are the little voices in your head that say, no, that's not for you. No, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not, like, we don't need that, because you are, like, hello, you're what? I mean, you're an earth angel, right? So I hope something is coming out here. Yes, see? You are all that. See? That's who you are. And it came out in reverse, because that's what you're shifting into. Like, no money for you, no success for you, right? No one, see, this is someone who, okay guys, so this is about, yes, you will be successful and create your dream life, have your recognition and all that. And this is you doing that, like actively in the world, you doing that, because you can be that. Yes, no matter what unhealthy choices you ever took for yourself, now you can be that person who nurtures, like, constantly, perfectly everything that needs to be nurtured, but not what needs not to be nurtured, right? And this is you coming to life here, standing in your full glory and even enjoying that. So this is you nurturing yourself, like you nurturing your success and yourself. And it's such a good energy, like exactly what I was feeling. So, and this is just you putting the attention, what you have put on healing the gaps, you know, healing like what you poured into the darkness, literally. Now you create with the pentacles. We have that, the containers, right? And here you see it again, a container where your flame is in. And then it's like, yeah, here, I did it. My first workshop, my first Reiki session. Yes, I did it. Yes. You know, I sold this. Yes, yes, yes. So you sold that. Okay? And you're celebrated and seen. And now you stand there and you're like, oh, wow. So it is actually valuable what I'm doing. And you enjoy it to the fullest. This is also someone, you know, who is totally indulging in their craft, whatever it is, like doing your artistic work, like you're standing fully in your purpose and enjoying that. And also, of course, pampering yourself to the max. It's all about this wonderful life. And yes, this person is rich. And not to be shamed for that, okay? We have that here with my own ancestors saying that, right? So yes, you're freaking allowed to be rich, babe. I want to say babe. I don't know. I constantly want to say babe to you. Let me know if that bothers you. But yeah, I mean, that's bam. Trust. Trust that, see, and you are downloading that. You're literally, you're drawing that. Ooh, I love that. And it's a wand, right? So you download that through optimism and trust and showing up for yourself. This is like, yes, I show up for myself every day. I'm stepping away from bad habits of, you know, being in the war mode, like competition. 5 of Wands, it's the card before that, and that's what we are leaving behind. And so being, you know, pushed down and feeling you need to stand up for yourself constantly and protect yourself. And no, these days are over, like totally over. Where you go now, there's only recognition. Everyone is shouting, yay, you're good, yay. Like, you good. Because you're good. You got, so you're good, right? Sorry, but I need to make a little bit of fun of that, but yeah. But here, you're coming to life, okay? Okay. Dancing might also be very helpful. It always helps to free the sacral. If there is some fear, we don't want to have that. And yeah, 2 of Cups again, showing up. Where? There. Yeah. So, move into your 2 of Cups area, which basically is recognition on a soul level. And being committed to your own, you know, values. And yeah, that also creates a container for how people can interact with you. So of course this is out, of course, because you have defined your own values. And if you haven't, you can do that now. Again, with the raccoon, right? You can maybe do 2 more where you put on one side where you feel like, oh, I lacked, you know, expressing this, and I wasn't, you know, showing up for me here and there. And then you can turn it around and say, okay, so now my job is to protect myself with this one, and I don't know what it is, you know, to create a healthy environment and sort out the friend circle and create healthy meals, you know, nurture yourself and make space for meditation, for a walk in the forest, whatever it is. And then you separate yourself from the times where you were acting from the wound, and you accept that that's part of the journey. It's part of the healing journey to act from the wound. Yes, if we are a victim, yes, we live in victimhood for a while. That's natural, I guess. Right? It comes with the thing being a victim. Then you live in victimhood, and no one needs to shame and blame you for that. But you can hold space for that with the moon cycles and the understanding of, you know, how healing works and all that. You can help other people to overcome whatever they are overcoming. But just for you right now, it's important to understand, okay, I separate myself from when I couldn't actually, because it's not a you thing. It was an environmental problem, not a you problem, but a matter of fact problem, right? And so you can clearly, easily let go of that and trust in yourself again, right? And you can even have fun, because I feel the raccoon here. Like, it's fun in your group, right? It's fun. You like to celebrate, I guess. And yeah, you can do that. And here's even a diamond, like Ace of Pentacles. Didn't saw that one. Okay, so write down your high standard being, right? Your high standard life, and write down whatever you have to offer, right? So you have a lot to write here. But yeah, I guess you can do that. I don't know where to put it. But yeah, let's just put it on top. And I am sending you recognition, riches, and fortitude or something like that. You know, where you can, let us see, what value are you really needing the most? Like, to bring that forth. Forgiveness. Wow. I'm done. Forgiveness. You just have to forgive yourself. And then that's because there is nothing you have to learn. Do you understand what that means? This is your natural. Like, this is who you are. Right? There is no problem with you. It never was a you problem. It never was a you problem. This is, Archangel Michael says, yes, you've always been that one. That's why you even were exploited. And you couldn't show up for yourself, and you were living in Five of Pentacles because constantly people would drain your energy and take from you. Wow. Okay, I guess we can easily forgive these other people because they were just, you know, helpless and needy, kind of. They were needing, they were in need, right? And we understand now, I guess, that we just have put walls around our, like, for a frame, like keep you in a healthy frame. And yeah, your light, right? Your light is precious. And your energy. And, you know, also your resources. I feel I mentioned so many, like, resources with moving homes and cars and all these acts of service. So this is spending your resources on other people. If you drive a whole afternoon with someone just to get for them a new couch, it's a whole afternoon. Other people earn like a ton of money in an afternoon, right? And you spend all the time just to make them happy and to spare them like a little bit of money. So makes no sense, actually. you did that just, I guess, because you felt good and enhanced in this energy where, you know, love is given, because that's your love language. Like, and that's how you felt in love. and even, ooh, that's a wound. Especially because if you yourself were lacking, that's kind of how you cured your inner wound. But that's, of course, you know, pouring into the whole always. And so actually you should have, you know, you should have focused on yourself, on healing yourself, and not on giving to anybody who stands in front of you and is lacking something. Like, yeah. Just turn around, you know, and give it to yourself. And pile it up a little bit, even, you know, save for yourself. Buy a little bit more than just a necessity. I feel it's so important for you to bathe yourself in your own energy and to have some resources around you so that you can see and feel safe also in the nervous system, that you really can feel, yeah, storm is over, it's safe now. It's safe to build, right? I can stand here and surrender. And that's not saying you're greedy or whatever, but you know, here there is literally the infrastructure missing, right? There is no logistics. It's not that easy to build on that empty meadow, right? So it's better if you do have actually a building and electricity and whatnot and water and things and food and all that. So that's much better if you have that, even for yourself, right? Yesterday I saw a homeless person, yeah, who was actually where I thought, wow, he was showing like deep inner child wounding. I saw that immediately. And yeah, he was curling up, you know, in fetus position and sleeping and in the sun. And I felt like this, I'm healing, you know, I'm just, yeah, wherever I have a place, then I lay down and heal. And yeah. And as I said, if we are a victim, then there is a period of time where we live that state. Of course. Of course. But now is the time to forgive and forget, maybe even, you know, the stored memories. And you know, stealing and all that, and guilt tripping. So there is a lot of really like evil doing what you have to forgive. And I feel it's past life stuff. It's literally, you know, I mean, it's ancestral and past life and very deep. Yeah, very deep. And you are unbinding the energy. And also you bring it, Tower, yeah. Tower reverse. So this is the storm is a reverse tower because it's about building your foundation. I already read it like that. And this kind of unstable situation where you were literally kind of shifting karma around all the time, this is leaving, okay? You did it. I feel exhausted and I don't want to end feeling exhausted, but still, so let me do something else. Ooh. Wow. Where do you want to go? Why so far away? So, long way home, right? Long way home. Ooh, Scorpio. Yeah, very deep. Very deep. Okay. Absolutely transformation on the deepest layer here. That's why I feel exhausted. That's why you feel exhausted sitting in this energy, because this is the deepest level. This is below the classical psychology layer. That's depth psychology. That's the subconscious. That's the dark night of the soul. That's being beyond persona. Like it's totally being in the depths of your psyche. And this is why you have made the connection, you know, the past life bridge here somehow. And it's also ancestral and all that. And yeah, that takes a lot of energy. And so rest is a thing, I guess. Oh, let me get, this is always so good. Whispers of Love. There is a card. That was quick. The heart of the matter. And slow down, yes. I wanted to say there is a card about rest and rejuvenation, yes. And we do have a slow down, yes. Because I feel that you need that. Pause and allow things to unfold, yes. Understand, yes, it was so freaking deep. Oh my goodness. And is there a castle again? It's a candle and a castle and a forest. And here is your abundance coming in. See the fish? Yeah. They are coming from the higher realms. Like, make no mistake, there is a gateway open now because it's because it's ancestral, right? And all that. That's why this is opening here. It comes from the higher realms. The heart of the matter. There's more going on than meets the eye. Yes, I feel that. There is so much more going on here, and we can't even scratch the surface because it's cosmic, and you are operating in the unconscious. I want to say it's not even subconscious, because the subconscious, that's what we can reach with psychology, but it's in the unconscious, and it's crazy deep, like crazy deep over here. And I feel that. I feel like falling into trance because I feel so, yeah, going in there. Okay. Can we have a rose petal? Detachment. Yes. That's what's happening. Detachment. And it's, as I said, in the unconscious. So you are cutting out timelines, ancestral timelines. Soul, you know, with like playing all characters. This is like, if it's about a relationship here, like a deep soul connection, then yes, you together are doing that, like cutting out old timelines that weren't good, you know, that weren't unfolding, that were storm fields rather than blossoming meadows. And so you have to cut them out before you rebuild, before you rebuild, you know, with the tower reverse, before you rebuild your castle, before you can download your castle. There is some karmic contract here where you really have to cut it out. And I feel it's important because I mentioned my ex-husband so much. It's important to forgive our karmic partners because, you know, in the end, it turned out like really being a battlefield later then, which I wasn't content with at all. And but I'm good with that now. Like, and that means that I'm not leaking energy in that direction anymore. Can you understand that? As long as we are connected with holding grudges, there is energy leaking out of us, right? Literally. So that's why we have to cut things out, actually. Okay. So that was a long session, and I hope, please absolutely like the video and give it a push in the algorithm and say hi if you would like to, and whatnot, and leave a comment, you know, where you share whatever you want to share, and subscribe, and I would love to read for you again, and check out my other playlists, and I don't know, And yeah, and create your mood boards and do all the paperwork. You have a lot of homework to do. But first, slow down and acknowledge that there is a process here. And then if you have energy, then create all these nice things, right? And just very slow, like create them, pin them at the wall, and then see how your unconscious is connecting with that, because internally you already know what you will do, because you are connected to the future already, right? Through the heart. Okay? So, bye-bye. I wish you all the best. Bye. And of course, a ton of success, that's important here. And a ton of money, that's also important here. Like the best stability, like all-day stability, like boring life stability, but not boring, because you're recognized and you are evolving and you're successful and you're even rich and you can enjoy all your, bountiful, beautiful, amazing, abundant life. You can fully enjoy that. I feel that. Okay. Bye-bye.